Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train from 1951. So yes, back again here, and this time I'm very excited to once again talk about another Hitchcock film. And I did review this film more than 2 years ago though now. So I thought, and I watched it again yesterday, yesterday night. I'll say of course, that over the next couple of weeks, it's that time of year again where I kind of rewatch, various favourites. In the month of August being my birthday month. My birthday is next Thursday, and yes, I usually, at least most of my 2 weeks or so, or maybe just a week, is rewatching particular favourites and maybe reviewing them or re-reviewing them. In this case, of course. But yes, so this is one of them. I'll say that now, and yes, of course. Hitchcock is going to be featured once again, at least once again in these 2 weeks. So yes, of course. But yes, I reviewed this film a while back. This time round, I will be giving full-on spoilers. So if you haven't seen this film, I'd certainly recommend it. This may not be, in my top five, kind of Hitchcocks. It's not quite top tier Hitchcocks for me, but it really is one of, at least his best films, and really it's just a stunning film. And if you've not seen this, I wouldn't want to spoil this for you. First time watch. So yes, be warned, of course. There will be kind of discussions, on this film, and giving away particular events, plot details, of this stunning film. So yes, with that said, one note as well, there is a thunderstorm, currently where I am. So yes, if there's any audio issues in that sense, that's what it is. I hope it's not doesn't pick up again too much, but it was quite bad. Very. A few minutes ago I had to kind of wait, but yes, if that is the case, we'll just continue through that. And actually, it's kind of it's quite epic actually. Talking about Hitchcock, and yes, a thunderstorm, in the background. But yes, with that said, yes, what a stunning film. This film that I've seen twice before this rewatch yesterday, of course, and I saw this early 2017. I was going through various Hitchcock films. I got the set, of course, as well, and kind of just going through these films. Just really, I'd seen a few, of course, from a young age. I'd seen North by Northwest, The Bird, Psycho, etc. But really, I really started going through his films. Quite a variety of his films. Late 2016, onwards, and this was just one of them films that I kind of went through, and for the first time. And let me just say, it really blew me away. This film is an absolute masterpiece, and I think just such a kind of instantly thrilling film, but also such a charming film. Hitchcock knew how to kind of balance comedy and kind of innocent moments or characters, or kind of interactions with really intense thrilling narratives as well. This film here, it's just so, from the get-go, you have that kind of wonderful, masterful sequence here. When you have the kind of showing of the characters, them walking. You don't see their faces at first. You see, of course, the shoes, which is just so great. Kind of establishing, kind of the character traits, maybe class status, or just certain characteristics of these characters simply by the way they get out of the cars, and their shoes, and the way they're walking. It's just so genius, it really is, of course. And yes, we see them, of course, walking in the credits and stuff after that, and then they get onto the train, and of course, the brushing of the feet there, and that's when things from then it really is just instantly kind of it reels you in, at least it did for me, and it never lets up. This film is just constantly intense, psychologically really disturbing actually, and it's one that's very funny at times. It's very kind of charming. There's kind of there's an innocence to it at times. But at the same time, this is such a disturbing, as I say, kind of intense experience. And of course, we have this initial meeting, after the feet come into contact there, and we have this kind of mysterious character known as Bruno Anthony, in the film, of course, played by Robert Walker, and he gives such a great performance. Actually, really for me, it's one of at least among the best or most memorable villains for me in all of cinema, and definitely one of the very best Hitchcock kind of villains actually, and it's a real unique villain, one that's just charming while also being very, very scary and just menacing. We'll get to that. The lengths that he goes to in this film, and that's what it's about. And it really gets into, it gets under my skin so much because I relate to our protagonist. In this kind of he's put in this situation without kind of. Really being aware of what's just happened, and then things escalate, and wow, things go really, really far until the very the final moments when of course we have that relief, which we'll get to as well. Hitchcock does this so well, but yes, Bruno Anthony, he meets and he starts talking to this. Our protagonist, of course, of Guy Haynes, Guy is played by Farley Granger, and also in Rope, another Hitchcock, masterwork for me. And yes, we have these two characters. Guy Haynes is this kind of tennis player of sorts, and yes, it seems that and he's in the papers and stuff, and it seems that Bruno knows quite a lot about him, and it's very it grows and grows. This conversation starts out very light-hearted. There's actually some homoerotic undertones, and it's been noted by many actually. It's very, very interested in this, but we have these kind of moments of innocence at first, and it's very playful, very just very charming. This interaction on the train, but then things really escalate, and we are more aware the actual the real kind of seriousness of this, where this goes, than of course our protagonist. He doesn't really Guy kind of brushes off this encounter, and he doesn't really take too much notice of it. He knows it's going somewhere where it's this guy is, he thinks he's just this insane character, this strange guy he's met and he'll probably never see again, and boy is he wrong. He really he regrets, of course, ever meeting this character, this individual, Bruno, because of course we have this conversation, about the perfect murder, this kind of crisscross murder, and of course we have Bruno pitching, the kind of the scenario of let's swap murders in that sense. You can kill my father if I kill your current wife, who you want to get a divorce with. But yes, it seems like the character of Marion, played by Elliott, is kind of an issue, for Guy, and it's kind of course he wasn't wanting rid of her in that sense, but it's something that is clearly an obstacle for him to kind of get on with his wife Anne, but of course, this character Bruno, suggests this crisscross murder, as we say, and yes, of course, killing Bruno's father, for Guy to do this, and then of course Bruno, will dispatch of Miriam, and of course both will be kind of safe in the sense that the motives won't be with the actual, for example, Guy, does not know, has never come into contact, there's no kind of history with Bruno's father, and vice versa. So there we have this kind of eliminating of any kind of threads in that sense. So it's kind of pitched as, a perfect scenario. Of course, Guy Haynes, again, he kind of brushes this off. He just kind of puts it down to, strange encounter, this insane guy maybe. And from then, of course, we have, the first act, it's just genius. It really, really is. Of course, as we know, Bruno, follows, Miriam to, of course, this funfair, in that sense. Of course, then we see the kind of tunnel of love, it's referred to as, and he follows her there, and of course, very soon after that, he actually kills Miriam, and strangling her, and yes, that is one of the main events of the film. It's just when I first saw that moment, I was just so shocked, firstly, because I didn't really think the film would go in this way, to kill off this character in such a brutal way, and actually for this to happen in the first act, and just as well, how far this character Bruno goes, actually it's very, very graphic, even though you don't actually see a lot of this murder, you kind of it's in a reflection, of course, of Miriam's glasses. Such a genius, visual moment. I feel, within Hitchcock's filmography. This is just one of the standout kind of images. It really is. It's kind of this poetry to it, but it's so scary, so kind of dark. This moment here, and of course, strangling, Miriam, and of course, Guy. Would you believe? Has already had previously to this, a few scenes before, had an argument with Miriam over this divorce. He's been witnessed by different members of the public, and of course on the phone, he has kind of said to his wife, or he's kind of said to his partner on the phone, he could strangle her. He could strangle Miriam. So it all kind of goes against Guy, even though he doesn't intend on on killing Miriam. It's Bruno has killed Miriam, and then of course Guy is the suspect, because of course this whole scenario, it would be the perfect kind of setup if both of the characters were wanting to kind of go along with it, but of course Guy, being our protagonist, being someone who is not like this, he's kind of stumbled upon this by accident. He is not someone who wanted to kill anyone, and of course from then on we have the paranoia of Guy. We have this whole kind of escalation, these layers upon layers of kind of intensity and just unbelievable moments. Of course we learn more and more over the film, about Guy and the different characters as well. Barbara, she's a character in the film played by Pat Hitchcock, the daughter of Hitchcock, and she is a real standout, kind of comedy character in the film. But really great character. I love the performance by Pat, and just a great character. I love the dynamics here, and she adds a lot of the comedy, the charm. It all works so well. The supporting cast, the side characters, because of the way they are put together, different scenarios, the bouncing off of different characters, the chemistry, the kind of the discussions, the dialogue, is really key, because of the comedy as well at times. And I think the comedy to the film, moments of this film, it's kind of I was laughing. I was kind of laughing in a nervous way because I was so caught up in this intensity, and these moments of these awkward moments for Guy, and these moments that it just seems like it cannot go any worse. For a protagonist who is clearly very innocent, in that sense. He's someone who is very a lovable character, someone who is relatable. He's kind of at first he appears to be cool and collected character, but when things start escalating, he actually hears that his Miriam has been killed. From then he starts to lose control, and things escalate. Psychologically, we see this kind of downward spiral, of Guy, and the desperation of just trying to make this out, make out this, and clear his name, and just be rid of this individual, who cannot, it seems that cannot kind of leave him alone. Bruno, of course, being that individual, the villain of the film, of course, and he just wants to rest, and just be with his love, Anne, and it's just such a kind of desperation over the film. But the middle act is very interesting. We learn so much more about Bruno, and of course, he lives with his parents. He seems to be he's not exactly a young individual, but of course his father and his mother, of course, as well. It's very interesting kind of interaction there, and of course there's moments of this that kind of it seem like it's there are hints at kind of elements in Psycho, another Hitchcock film, of course. It's very interesting to see, but this character of Bruno, it's very interesting to kind of link the different traits he has, with the kind of the family life, and the kind of the setup of this, it kind of course, it puts this character, upon us, but we learn so much kind of interesting, traits about this character, surprising moments actually, throughout the film. It's very shocking. This we have the moment as well, the kind of the gathering, in the middle of the film, and him actually making the link visually, with Barbara, Pat Hitchcock's character. Of course, when he's strangling that woman, just kind of acting out what a murder would be like. He sees, Barbara, and because she's kind of she resembles Miriam, it kind of brings back this feeling, and he's actually imagining, the murder taking place. Of course, he, something takes over him, and he's kind of this possessed character in that sense. That's a genius moment as well. Very, very shocking. He actually strangles that woman there, and it's moments like this that really, when I first saw this, I was so shocked, and just so freaked out by this whole experience. This character following this our protagonist. The moment, of course, you see another genius, visual moment, image that's just stuck with me. And it just every time I see this, it's just more and more kind of scary. We see that figure, of course, it's Guy, in the car, with his, of course, the detective that's kind of, going along with him, protecting him, etc. And he's kind of, someone who is sent to kind of, watch over, Guy, and Guy sees Bruno, and then of course he gets in the car and they go around the corner, and Bruno is still there, standing, next to, kind of in between the pillars there, and that is such a kind of genius moment, visual storytelling, just to kind of linger on that image there. It's one of the scariest, kind of most just eerie, images I've seen in any film, and just these moments, how this character of Bruno, even when he's not, kind of, engaging in dialogue, with Guy or other characters, he's so, he's so felt. This character, the presence of this character is felt throughout the entire film, and of course we learn different things as well, and we were kind of surprised as well. There's different moments in, again, some of the middle or later on in the film, second half, where of course Guy goes to the house with Bruno, and it's actually Bruno in the bed there, and that's a really kind of a moment that really scared me. Once again, it's a very kind of strange moment as well, where you kind of see well, of course you see the dog as well at the top of the stairs, and it turns out it's not a fierce dog, it's just kind of an innocent dog, and that funny moment there, we kind of almost a slow motion use there, and it's just very, very funny there. Hitchcock humour once again, and again to lighten the mood, but not to underplay the tension that is to follow, and the moment, of course, when Bruno is just standing at the top of the stairs, Guy is going down and then going around, and Bruno is still, having the gun in hand, just peering over there. It's just such a intimidating moment. Visual mastery here. I think Hitchcock in this film, and many of his films, knew how to kind of use space so well to his advantage, and to create dynamics, and to say something about how the characters, are arranged, and how, maybe how characters, are in more of a, an upper hand, how characters, assert, authority, all these kinds of things, just through the spacing, the kind of the blocking, here is just masterful, and I think. It really is something else. Seeing these two characters, this kind of hero and villain, up against each other throughout the film. And it's so well set up. We have this kind of such a balance, and such kind of a gradual kind of and a constant kind of sense of a relationship growing. It's this very, very complex relationship, and it almost feels, I feel sympathy for this character of Bruno. He's not someone who is, stable. Of course, he is our villain, but someone who I do feel sympathy for. Bruno, and initial kind of maybe innocence to that conversation. On the train, of course, but just going through the film, just. There's something about the performance, of course, by Robert Walker, but something else that just really, gets to a point where in the end, even though, of course, it would mean that Guy is free, there is also a kind of a sadness, a tragedy to the way in which, Bruno meets his end. Of course, the merry-go-round featured once again, because, of course, yes, going back to the scene of the crime in that sense, or the scene of the murder, it really is. It's quite a stunning kind of climax. We have that epic kind of moment there when the merry-go-round, kind of is destroyed, and of course, Bruno, falls there and meets his end. But it's a very, very sad moment, actually. And this character Bruno is very, very. It appears, very, very lonely, a lonely character. And someone who again lived with his parents, and there is just such a kind of a tragic, underlying kind of sadness, to this villain. I think just such a complex, array of characters in that sense. Guy, of course, I root for Guy, but there's also, as I say, the tragic aspects of our villain, and I think just that whole, way in which the final act, we'll get to the final act, of course, plays out. This is just genius. It really is. The kind of the cutting here is just so on point. Juxtaposing the tennis match with, of course, Bruno, going once again to the kind of the location, returning there, and kind of the whole moment there. Once the tennis match ends, when Guy goes back there, and of course that kind of final showdown between Guy and Bruno is just so epic. Both sides, of course, desperate to kind of come out, on the other side. But of course, as I say, Guy is victorious. Guy is then free, but there is this kind of underlying tragic aspect to the film, and but the final act overall is just so stunning. It really, really is. The tennis match, we have the whole throughout that match. We have the irony, the dramatic irony. We know that, of course, Guy, is desperate to kind of finish the match. The entire, the entire match, finish it as quick as he can. Of course, he doesn't win, with 3 continuous sets, but there was a kind of a stumble at one point. Of course, the other, kind of the opposing player, wins a set, and then of course it's back, and it's kind of this tension. It's unbearable, of course, and we have that with the scenes of. The genius scenes, Bruno, of course, and you see, the lighter, just falling down the drain there, and just the moment when you see, it's kind of a prolonged moment, of course, when Bruno is trying to reach down, the drain there, to retrieve that, that lighter there, and of course other characters, kind of just saying it's just, what's the big deal here? But we know what this means, of course, for a number of characters in the film, and it's just such, by that point, so investing, in all the different characters and the threads, and this, it hinges on this, these moments, these details. Hitchcock focuses on these details, sustained tension. It's just this operatic as well sequence in the end. It's just such a masterful finale. Just final act. It's unbearable, the tension. But as Hitchcock knew so well, once the kind of things are okay. You get this, even though it's kind of unbearable tension. That you go through, the audience is then relieved, and you get that kind of the moments of maybe laughter or just satisfaction, but it's delayed gratification. That's done in such a way in many Hitchcock films. It really is genius, and I think Hitchcock is one of easily one of the best for me 5 filmmakers of all time, and I think he was one of the masters. I think in every area of cinema, and of course this is a thriller, just like many of his films, but it's so much more than that. I think the genres, the kind of the mood, of his different variety of his films, the mixture, the blend, of different aspects, elements. It's just so wonderful to see, and this is such a kind of a delightful, once again, delightful experience. The kind of play off between the hero and the villain. It's just so wonderful to see, and it's such a kind of uplifting film at times, and just so satisfying, kind of charming, this film. And I love just in general the cinematography. It really is quite wonderful, of course, and just a mastery of visual storytelling. So on point. All the different camera movements. It's just so focused, so kind of precise. But as well quite free and you're not kind of intrusive at all on what's going on with the characters and the narrative. And it's got a perfect kind of free act structure in this. I think every act is just so so effective, so investing in its own way. I love the first act for the kind of the initial kind of playfulness, the innocence, the kind of peaceful moments, and of course the kind of legendary first meeting of these characters on the train, and such great dialogue throughout. But as well, the middle of the film, so mysterious, so kind of eerie, and just building and building, and of course Guy being put in a different situation, everything kind of changes for him, and of course it's up to him to kind of other characters were helping him out, to kind of make sure that he doesn't kind of get put away in essence for the wrong murder, because of course Bruno is kind of constantly creating situations for Guy, and it seems like how is this going to come okay in the end for Guy, but of course when it eventually does, right in the very last few minutes, it's just a sense of relief, and just you've witnessed one of the most thrilling, for me anyway, one of the most thrilling and just disturbing films of all time, really. But it's such an entertaining ride, such a kind of a thrill, the comedy throughout, to kind of ground the characters, as well as just kind of as I say, comedy that is more nervous laughter because of the situations. It's really quite unbelievable at times what happens, and what kind of happens, for Guy to kind of deal with. It really is something else, and it just builds and builds, and it's so kind of on edge in different moments, of course. But Hitchcock sustains this tension, and he knows just when to kind of lighten the mood with comedy, and just to kind of make it more of a believable experience. But I think by the end of this, around about 100 minutes, just very, very short film, I've just witnessed one of, at least, a film that is among my favourites, of all time, really, and just another stunning Hitchcock film. This is a masterpiece, and definitely, while it's not maybe top five, for me personally, Hitchcock films, because that is, such kind of feat, almost impossible task to be, by me acclaimed as one of the five best, for example. But regardless of that, it's not really. That's not really the point. It is at least kind of among his best works, and just one of the films I think of instantly. A handful of films I think of when Hitchcock is mentioned. I think of Guy and Bruno, just facing off, of course, and that initial meeting on the train. But of course you've got these other threads, of course, and other lovable characters, and characters that are so investing, and of course Anne as well. Guy together, so romantic, but there is a particular level of emphasis, I think, on this relationship between Bruno and Guy, that's even more interesting for me, and I think just seeing these two characters, kind of throughout the film, constantly kind of coming into contact, of course, in different situations, always intensifying the kind of the mood, the actual narrative, I think. But seeing every single encounter here, with Guy, of course, and Bruno together, is absolutely legendary, and yes, just such a stunning masterwork. For me, there is so much in this film. There is so much inspiring moments, moments that just get me so excited, thrill me, entertain me. Such a lovable film, once again so charming, for me, just an absolute masterpiece, and as I say, among the best Hitchcock films. And of course the the wonderful score provided by Dmitri Tiomkin. This is a very, very interesting score, of course, not Bernard Herrmann's score for a Hitchcock, but despite that, it's still such a kind of mysterious, just thrilling score that's provided here. And I think the kind of very interesting thing is the kind of grand feeling of the score, and it's very much especially in the final act of the film, it really is quite rousing, and just perfect, perfectly suited to the structure of the film as well. And I think the structure is a very, very interesting thing. I think Hitchcock himself commented on this. It's very it's a fascinating structure to the film. He said that with Truffaut, of course, when of course the famous legendary kind of discussions took place, as we all know. But he noted on this, saying that it's a very, very fascinating kind of structure with so much to kind of talk about, endless conversations to be had. I find it is a very, very fascinating film. This in its structure, in its in its form. I think it's very, very, very unique. It may appear at first as a kind of straightforward thriller, but I really would say this is actually a film that is more than meets the eye, certainly. So even when you've watched it a few times, there is more. I'm thinking, wow, that's something I've never even thought about. Particular moments or kind of metaphors in the film as well. It could be both of these characters essentially being doppelgangers. It's very interesting. Bruno, is kind of essentially actually acting out maybe Farley Granger's his character of Guy Haynes, his wishes perhaps. He never wants to actually. He never is going to go ahead with this. Guy Haynes. We know that really. We can at least be quite sure of that. But Bruno is the one willing to kind of go ahead and actually dispatch Miriam. And it's kind of a very, very scary film. This really, really scary. What happens to Miriam, of course. Very, very sad. Very, very shocking. Once again, when I first saw it, I was shocked. I was very, very much taken aback by that whole kind of first act and the event there. And of course, after that, we have the paranoia. You could say obsession. All these different themes that are present in many of the Hitchcock, masterpieces. Or just films in general. But once again, this is another 50s Hitchcock film, and I think, for me personally, the 50s was his decade. It really was. A number of decades, making so many great films, so many masterpieces throughout different decades. With Psycho as well, and The Birds in the 60s, and we got The Lady Vanishes, The 39 Steps in the 30s. But for me, overall, the one that just really tops it, the one that really is the supreme for me overall decade for Hitchcock, in terms of his filmography, is the 50s, and this is yet another masterpiece, of that. And I think just absolutely stunning. I love everything about this film. I think it's a mysterious, haunting film with so much going on here, so many interesting themes. But just in terms of how entertaining is this film, I would say it's one of the most entertaining films I've ever seen personally. I think a pleasure once again to kind of take part, kind of experience this thrill ride, experience this what real work of art, from Alfred Hitchcock, for me one of the masters, as I say, and this is a privilege. This is just an honour, to take part once again in this film. A wonderful Blu-ray, of course. Just here it is. Here, I've got the Blu-ray here, and yes, just really wonderful presentation here, and of course, yes, just seeing the wonderful, the kind of the lighting in the film, all these kinds of aspects, of the kind of visuals, in this film. It's such a treat, and having it on Blu-ray, it's just even better than other kind of formats. So yes. Wonderful film for me personally. This is just an absolute masterpiece, and I would recommend this to any Hitchcock fan, any fan of thrillers. It's more than that though. It really is this unique and kind of unforgettable relationship between these two characters. It's such a kind of unbelievable film. This really wonderful achievement. This film here, and of course Guy Haynes. Just one of the most relatable and kind of me rooting for protagonists in cinema history, and so kind of charming. Farley Granger gives a great performance. Pat Hitchcock as well. Real standout kind of comedic character. So great. Really great character, lovable character as well, and just so charming. The kind of dynamics between the different characters. Of course, the whole kind of setup to this film, but where it goes from there, and how it kind of it shocks, it surprises, but it really it makes sense in every regard. The irony, it just really plays plays so wonderfully, this film, and I think just Yes, Robert Walker, gives one of the best, most charming but menacing kind of villain performances of all time. It's just a wonderful score to the film. Dmitry Tiomkin, such a great score. It's not necessarily a Bernard Herrmann score for Hitchcock, but still absolutely wonderful and epic, mysterious, and just on point in the relation to how it's put together with the film and how it kind of relates to different moments, the mood of the film. Such an atmospheric film, so full of meaning and just visual mastery of this film. I think the images that are conjured up here, unforgettable, masterful for me. I think this is just pure joy, pure, menace. It's just a real disturbing film, macabre, very macabre, and very much, very haunting film. But at the same time, it's a comedic, charming, and just so delightful. Such a wonderful film. This, and it's one of my favorite. Easily one of my favourite kind of 200 films, very high on my list, with many of the Hitchcock films, of course. As I say, it's not kind of top 5 quite Hitchcock films for me. It's not quite my top 100 films of all time, but not far off that, I must say. In the grand scheme of things, this is one of my favourite films, and yes, such a delight, such a pleasure, and such a great film. This an absolute masterpiece. It's so entertaining, so masterfully put together. Once again, more than meets the eye here with Hitch, and yes, the amount of masterpieces that he made. Wow, and I've only seen 18 or so of his films so far. So I cannot wait to kind of begin, kind of watching films I haven't seen from him yet. I've got a few already I own on Blu-ray, and just rewatching, over and over. Of course, the films I have seen I do love, which is the majority of his films that I've seen so far. Such a master of cinema for me, one of the masters, and this film here gets into my plus tiers. It is, of course, a full mark film for me, and it's more than that. It's 100% plus. Tier 2, absolute masterpiece, and uplifted me. It kind of thrilled me so much. Once again, inspirational film, and just fueling that passion, that drive to get writing, to get doing this. Just filming anything. That kind of drive, the kind of the excitement, and just the kind of just the thrill of it. Just to make a film, or just to kind of keep pursuing in different areas and kind of. Just to kind of create these ideas, in this film visually, and for Hitchcock to kind of develop them in such interesting ways, and to kind of present these characters, and such simplicity to this film, but so complex at the same time, so layered. Such an organic film. Very kind of realistic in the way it's approached as well. But kind of mystical, dreamlike, fantastical at times, and just such a wonderful film overall. There's so much to go to kind of talk about. I could go on for more, but I think we'll leave it there. What do you think of the film? Leave your comments. It'd be great to know. It'd be great to discuss a Hitchcock film. I mean, there's rarely a greater kind of thing to discuss than a Hitchcock. I mean, this guy, I've kind of considered over the years, since, especially seeing more of his films, of course I have a favourite filmmaker, is currently, and has been really for a while, Stanley Kubrick, but I think Hitchcock, is one of the few directors that I can mention in the same sentence, just with the same, similar kind of admiration, or just, to hear Hitchcock, in terms of cinema, in terms of films and films I love, it's just one of them kind of comparable kind of feelings of excitement, feelings of just admiration, just the amount of the kind of balance of the quality and quantity that he put out, I think is staggering, and of course, again, not just the master of suspense. We'll leave it on this. So much more than that. If that wasn't enough, Hitchcock was just a juggler. He was someone who knew how to kind of blend, so well, and just to kind of bring so many things together. And this is just one example of that. It is an absolute masterpiece, in my opinion, and I think we have Rope once again. I plan to rewatch that, on this kind of 2 week break I'm having, and I've got a lot of free time, of course. So yes, Rope is another one. It could be another one, but I think that's definitely on the table, and I can't wait for that. I will very likely be re-reviewing that as well. So yes, there's more to talk about than I last, kind of. Of course, I had a kind of a discussion last time, but again, no spoilers, no kind of in-depth really discussions on that. So yes, easily I could review Rope again. So I look forward to the potential of that. Of course, tell me your thoughts on this film. What do you think of this? It'd be so great to hear your thoughts. Of course, I've spoke to people about this film before, but you can leave your comments. Feel free to leave your comments on this film, even if you've already kind of commented before, and that is the same, for different reviews I do. Always feel free to kind of don't feel don't worry about kind of leaving comments on videos that I've already maybe done before, because it's a different discussion, and yet another way to kind of express your opinions on films, of course. And it's always great to discuss Hitchcock. It's always an excuse, once again, rewatching is an excuse to kind of talk about Hitchcock again. I love talking about Hitchcock films, and this film, once again, stunning work. Really just a kind of delightful film that just uplifts and inspires, thrills, entertains, and just and puts in a state of wonder, cinematically, once again. And I'm just gazing up at the screen, and just learning every day. Just being inspired every day. That's a great thing. There'll never be a point where I don't have more to learn and more to kind of take in from films, of course. And this is just yet another kind of example of kind of being shown a film, watching a film, and to just see so much in it, and to kind of relive the experience, and to have a slightly different experience as well. It really is quite fascinating, this film, and just Hitchcock films in general. So yes, always great to discuss. So yes, what do you think? What do you think of Hitchcock in general? His films. You can maybe leave your brief comparisons maybe of Hitchcock's, but yes, we'll leave it there. We'll kind of we'll wrap up. It's been great once again, and of course I cannot wait to kind of continue with my Hitchcock journey, of course, and just journey in cinema, of course, which will never end, of course, luckily. So yes, as always, take care, and yes, thanks for watching.